Kids,
Hey.
welcome aboard.
Hi, guys. Good to see everybody. Great to see you. Hooray.
Well, hello there. I'm taking after Campbell.
I know, yes.
I can't do it.
Campbell's special and Mike's special, so there's that. And good. So who do we have? Hi, Melanie Murphy. Venalyn, great to see you. There's that. Watch out for that sassy Susie. She can be quite ornery. There's our beloved KK, Robbie, Xenomorphet. Inspire me. Great to see you guys. K-heads. Igotnan1. Yes. Carolina Dream. Arrows. Eduardo. I hope I said that right. I'm sorry. I'm kind of, I butcher names from time to time. I really don't mean to. Kim's World. I like that. I like Kim's World. You got it. Day of the Cow. Oh, there's our Karma Doc. Good to see you. Jason O's. Awesome. Oneness. Hooray. Elena. Aw. I love it. We're pulling in our family here. So this is great. A lot of times, what do we have? We have each other, and it's a blessing.
Yes, absolutely. So, guys, it's going to be another interesting week. Here we are. We're at Wednesday, right? Wednesday's hump day, isn't it?
Hump day.
Yeah. And, we got a lot of craziness going on. And, potential for another big storm coming. I wanted to start out over here, though. Did you guys see this? Wow, this is just horrible to witness. Wow. I mean, we have so much rapid change going on the planet. This is, by the way, over in Italy, in Sicily. And we're kind of waiting for some of those big famous volcanic eruptions, that have been forecast by so many different people to take. We're waiting for a lot of things to take place. And a lot of things are taking place. It's just crazy. When you look at some of these structures, they've been there a long time. And some of these houses are pretty ancient. But now, because of this landslide, they're just, thing of the past. It's just crazy how it just keeps ramping up. It just keeps intensifying.
Yeah, it does. It continues to get worse and worse. And thank you for helping me with name pronunciations. I appreciate that. Looking at the weather, looking at the way things are going, it continues to get more and more concerning every time you turn around. It's just something, jaw-dropping. It's like, I can't believe this dam broke. I can't believe these houses actually fell off this mountain. And these are big houses. Oh my gosh. I wouldn't really want to live on something like that, but somebody did. Somebody felt it was safe enough to put a house on there, and for good reason, I'm sure. Several people felt it was safe enough, but look, it's so sad.
Yeah, so this was triggered by relentless heavy rainfall from Cyclone Harry. The landslide began on January 25th and has continued to expand rapidly. This is the town of Nisemi in central Sicily. It's created a failure scarp approximately 2.5 miles long with drops of up to 45 meters in some areas. Wow, that's just scary. So authorities have expanded the red zone to a buffer of about 150 meters from the landslide front, leading to the evacuation of about 1,500 residents. Some reports vary on the number. Schools have been closed, access roads blocked and isolated. Wow, big disaster. And yet it's only one of a long list. Here you go. This is just wild, the changes. it gets easier to envision the reality of a mudflood every day, easier and easier to see how these things happen. And it's a combination of different things taking place. Some perhaps natural and some perhaps not. Look at the cracks in the ground there. You see those cracks? Wow. So we pray for the people in that area. We want to thank all our Patreons too, by the way. Thank you guys so much for your support on Patreon. Also with YouTube memberships. Tornadoes destroy 500 acres of greenhouses in Antalya, Turkey. Everything that we see, it all seems to be doing one thing consistently, and that's bringing up food prices and leading to some scarcity. Our local store was like just empty. Like I've not seen it before because of the storms that we had. And here you go. This is Turkey. This is far away on the other side of, the globe there. Or, well, maybe we shouldn't say globe. The pear. The big pear. Yeah, big apple, big pear. But you can see these greenhouses, again, damaged. It's a sad situation. All this, again, is adding to, obviously, more of a food scarcity and food inflation. That's really, really, it's just getting tougher and tougher in many ways. What we saw happening, not just in Kamchatka, which is this here. I mean, look at the massive amounts of snow. I mean, that's so much I would be worried about buildings collapsing under the weight. This looks like something from a disaster movie. It really, really does. And the U.S. East Coast, bomb cyclone, that whole term. I remember when they first came out with the bomb cyclone term. I think it was around 2017. It was when the channel first started, I believe. And here you go. This could bring the heaviest snow in decades to North Carolina. The Raleigh area, Wilmington. Keep your eyes open because this seems to be forming in an all too predictable, perfect way for a real perfect northeaster, that's coming along. And again, from the Carolinas, perhaps as well as northern Georgia, to Virginia, West Virginia, and then the Delmarva area up into, again, New Jersey, New York, Boston, and we'll have to see. You definitely could have some serious snow taking place and high winds too, literally hurricane force winds coming. So we should hopefully know more tomorrow, but it seems like the chance is growing for a big impactful storm, which, some of the models are showing the possibility of multiple feet. I mean, literally a 2-foot potential in some areas. So, this could be a huge record breaker. We're going to have to see. The models are not in agreement. So, again, we'll see more probably tomorrow.
I know. So, for tonight's intention, let's just set it that everyone stays safe and people who need help get help rather quickly and there's no fatalities. And, it's just not that bad. So let's put that intent out there. And Karmadox, she says, seeing how long till my comment disappears like previous, I am sorry. I wouldn't be surprised. There's so much weirdness that goes on our channel. It's really kind of insane, the things that happen on our channel and the things that are done. It's just, the censorship. The censorship it's pretty bad, but we're plugging through it, and thanks to you guys, we're still here and we're still doing things, so we appreciate all of y'all.
Absolutely. So, again, this could be a big one. It could be a really big one, or it might not turn into much of anything. Maybe we can intention it to go offshore. This is Louisiana. This is northern Louisiana. I-20 runs across Louisiana and Mississippi, and also through Texas. And this was just a freaking nightmare. There were people, we touched on this. There were people that were literally stuck on I-20 for almost a day, in some cases even longer. It's, it was 36 hours of it not really moving at all. And I talked to some people in the store that knew people that were stuck in this for 12 hours. And they also said there were some steer being transported that were stuck there the entire time. And they lost steer because of being stuck on the highway in the storm. So, it's seriously dangerous when you're not used to having these type of storms. So I went out today, and the back roads were a mess, and actually a neighbor did get stuck at the bottom of a hill, because they didn't have a four-wheel drive. And you could still, run into problems with a four-wheel drive when you go to stop and you're on ice. So be aware of that. But, when you're talking Louisiana and Mississippi, they don't really invest a lot in snow removal and snow cleanup because you don't really get snows that stay around.
Arkansas, I guess, had some help in that area, but there wasn't a lot going on here. But what was interesting, when Mike went to the store, he came home, there was the organic stuff was okay. It was there. The only eggs left were organic, so for us it's a blessing. But then I thought, well, maybe that's not so good, because what if they make note of what is not selling and then they don't give us as much organic? But isn't that just a crying shame that the organic was kind of plentiful?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a good Samaritan here giving out supplies, and there was a lot of cases of people coming and bringing other people, literally walking over and bringing people food and water and trying to help other people. This is over in Ruston, Louisiana. Ruston, Louisiana is a beautiful little town, little gem, by the way. But yeah, crazy times. Chevluch eruption produces ash to 30,000 feet. Possible late ash fall in nearby districts. This is a volcano that is relatively active. And this is on that Kamchatka Peninsula where they got all the snow. So you add this, it's going to help with the cooling off effect, and I wouldn't be surprised if it adds to the snow levels. And, we haven't seen any big volcanic activity in the, let's say, American Northwest. But it's coming. It's definitely coming. It's just a matter of time. Over in Portugal, Storm Kristen kills 2 people. A rare sting jet. What's a sting jet? A sting jet developed with the storm, intensifying hurricane force winds. I've never heard that term before. This is what I mean. We had red sprites. All of a sudden, those are just red sprites. Sundogs, etc. Well, maybe sundogs has been around longer, but they make up these terms and then act like the terms have always existed, when in reality, it's something that's just a recent invention to, some would say maybe cover up the technology that's out there. So yeah, 1,500 weather-related incidents across the country. Falling trees, flooding, power interruptions. This is Portugal. Over here and in the UK and Ireland, you had major incident declared in Somerset as Storm Chandra brings severe weather across the UK and Ireland. Hundreds of flood alerts issued. Lots of rescues ongoing. As you can see, we've just seen this, one time after another. These once in 100-year events, once in a 1,000-year events, they're just happening every day now. So yeah, again, makes me think of mud flood, makes me think of our past, and maybe our past, we don't really know what the true story was. Crazy.
And thank you so much, Frankie, Big Blue Pup. We appreciate that a lot. It really helps keep us going, you guys. And also over on Ko-Fi, it's easy to donate on there if you feel led to at all. It really helps us continue these, and just it keeps us going, and that way we get to bring you all together as much as possible. Thank you, Frankie.
Yeah, we had a busy day and an early start for us this morning. But usually I would like to get a video up in the morning for people, but we were just like crazy and still kind of recouping ourselves from the storm. I mean, I still have, a lawnmower that's buried under tons of ice, and now a awning that has to be disposed of.
Well, there's that thing when you're in a storm and you're just kind of holding your breath and you're waiting to see if the power is going to go out, and you're resting or sleeping, but you're not really resting or sleeping because that threat is always right there. And if the power does go out, it's not like you kind of have to go out and turn on the generator because it is so cold. You don't want the house to freeze and you don't want your pipes to freeze. So, it's that pause there. Aw, why, thank you, Miss Karmadoc. We love you too, and we appreciate you. And yes, we are going to get together soon. We both got to pull our schedules together. We will figure it out. There's a lot of things I wanted to talk about with some clips that you have sent me. Very interesting.
Yeah, Mark McCarthy's saying his psychic abilities seem to have sharpened noticeably. Yeah, I mean that's what's going on right now. They are not going to be able to stop the awakening as much as they try. They can't, and more people all the time are catching on. So here you have a dam breach. This is in Madagascar. Puts thousands at risk. Officials warn heavy rains could trigger a full collapse that would threaten homes and farmlands. This is just another situation on another part of our planet. Again, the part of the planet that we know of. Another natural disaster. And the company built a dam in 2024. 2024. And this thing is already, as you can see, breached. Wow, that's not great construction there, or the event is so far beyond what could be logically expected.
Yeah, that's kind of a mess. I mean, considering 2024, we should have the ability to build strong structures, considering look what we did with chisels and hammers after all, it would seem like we could do a little bit better.
How about this one? 4.1 earthquake. 24 kilometers east-southeast of Amigo Beach in Canada. As you can see, this is directly north of Toronto. That's weird. It's not totally unheard of, but it's a little bit large for what we will typically see. Usually when we see quakes in this area, they're very small, 1s, 2s. So this is a little bit bigger, but I did see a video popped up in my feed. I only got a chance to listen to a little of it. And they were talking about the fact that the Great Lakes themselves, well, let's look at this, right? I mean, the Great Lakes themselves, how did they really form? And when we go looking at, maybe we should do this for a full video sometime, because when you look at some of the old maps, they don't even show the Great Lakes in some of them. When did they form? When did they really form? I don't know. I mean, could it be that they formed 300 years ago? Something like that, 300-400 years ago? I don't know. I really question, again, the narratives. But it was saying in that video that the crust under here it's part of the craton, but, it has a brittleness to it that could see some very big quakes. So let's hope not. But that one really stood out to me, although I think we had a 5.9 right now in the last 24 hours. Yeah, 5.9 Philippines, so just about a 6, another 5.6 in the Philippines, and a couple in 5.4s. This one over here is a 5.4 Ascension Island area. And then there's a little cluster up in Washington State. You see that little cluster? And there's always more in this area in particular than what they end up showing on the map. I know our beloved KK said she felt some shaking the other day.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have been reporting their feet are buzzing. Just the energy is kind of a little bit difficult, in the sense that things feel very, very raw, but there is a new energy coming online. We just really need to baby ourselves, be good to yourself, get your rest, drink lots of water, do all the things. Very important to put you first right now, because this energy, although it can be difficult and some of it might be the icky atmosphere that we have to live in, some of it is our upgrades and our ascension, and we can't lose sight of that. That's the important thing, and taking care of yourself, getting that sleep, that rest, all the things, that's what helps us there. So yeah.
Well, you look at the size of these sinkholes. These things are massive. This is in Turkey, by the way. This is a real problem. I mean, literally, they're talking about having to move the capital because these are massive sinkholes, just get bigger and bigger and more. 700 of these have been detected, and some of them are just completely enormous. And they say it's because they've been pulling too much water out of the crust, because the population in the capital is ever growing. And, is that really the case, or is there something else going on here? Don't forget that Turkey is loaded with cave systems, with places that people have gone and sought refuge at times from the chaos that was going on the surface of the earth. Were they literally at times trying to escape the alien invasion that was happening above them? I actually think that's what some of that was.
That looks really interesting. I was flying over Vegas, Mercury Area 51, and these holes in the ground were very, very evident. They looked exactly like that. But at that time, what they were doing is they were actually doing the underground testing for the bombs. So I actually saw one of those craters. It came up and it made a welt look like a big pimple, and then it all just dropped in. It was really wild that I got to see that.
That's amazing that you got to witness that.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So when you think about that and take into account, like I was saying, there's literally these underground cave systems that can hold tens of thousands to even maybe hundreds of thousands of people. Could it be that they're blowing them up underneath? Are they trying to destroy some of the ancient places where people went and hid and waited out the calamity of catastrophes that was hitting the surface? Could there be some, deep underground military bases being blown up, or Draco strongholds, fortifications? I don't know. It's really, really interesting. I don't doubt that there is a lot going on. So, Anatolia sits above a vast, inert, stabilizing matrix left by the pre-Diluvian civilization of Kadesh. What do you feel about that, sweetie? Again, this seems to be one of those places that was a key place for surviving the Younger Dryas period. Just like when we talk about the Native American people, many of them went into the Grand Canyon area and entered into the inner earth there. And then the ant people led them out. And then they spread back out, going eastward in the United States, going northward, going down into Mexico. The same sort of thing here with this area. So I wonder if there's something going on where there's things being destroyed underground on purpose.
I feel a really strange, just looking at that, I feel this very strange, ominous extremely sterile type of feeling, a very flat, a very non-emotional type of feeling. That's weird, so I'm not sure what that boils to, but
Cold-blooded, like reptilian?
probably something like that, maybe.
Could be. By the way, war drums in the Gulf, the U.S. Armada arrives as Saudi Arabia and the UAE deny airspace access. So both of them said, nope, you can't fly over our territory if you're going to bomb Iran. And again, Iran was Persia, was the Persian Empire. And, there's so much there, again, that I'm sure the system would love to obliterate, so we couldn't figure out, more of the clues as to how did we get here in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so, interesting to see all this going on. How about all the commercial airplane pilots that are coming out of the woodwork now and, giving us their take on everything from geoengineering to UAPs to UFOs and disclosure.
And thank you so much, Miss Elena. We appreciate that. Much love and peace to you.
Much love, Elena. And, be on the lookout because you could get snow in Asheville, and that goes for Diana and quite a few of you guys also with this storm. So, yeah, I'm sure you guys are prepared and got everything good to go. But, yeah, this could be a big one over that way. Commercial pilot reports unusual energy pulses impacting aircraft prior to major weather events. Bombshell interview. I was seeing multiple strobes of some sort of energy hitting the airplane. Describes the pulses as originating from a specific source, not random atmospheric activity. Says he's noticed activity repeatedly appears just before significant weather develops, as of 2 years ago. Reports observing the same phenomena across multiple regions of the United States suggests the possible sources may include NOAA-linked infrastructure or military bases. Yeah, so, again, this is just another one that's coming out of the woodwork now. And finally people have, they're having the guts to speak. A lot of companies get you to sign non-disclosure agreements. And this is really what happens with a lot of the weather forecasters. They have to sign things saying that, if they are aware of something that military is doing, for national security purposes, they can't go down that route. They can't talk about it. This is why they avoid it like the plague. Here's another former pilot. Exposes poisons being sprayed daily in our sky. Does anybody else notice that the ice, from this storm, if you were impacted by this storm, the ice seems abnormally strong. I've heard so many people talking about this, even in the stores today. They were just kind of like confounded by how the ice just seems so strong. Let's see how this sounds.
The contrails, not the chemical, the contrails occur because of cold air, minus 30. It takes a high altitude, around 30,000 feet plus. There's a carbon dioxide and water vapor in that exhaust. That turns to ice crystals, and that's what you see, the white stream behind it. Those white crystals of ice warm up, dissolve, and the smoke goes away. And it never lasts more than a minute. What we're seeing now, and I first could not believe it, and I started looking at the skies, and these are not normal. They're not natural. There's something going on. I don't know who it is or why they're doing it. All I can testify is it's not natural and it's not normal. It's got to be some outside influence doing that. Thank you.
I'm here to give you testimony that chemtrails, they're not contrails, are indeed real. They're spraying almost every day. I watch the clouds and watch the spraying program going on. I want to tell you that we're in very great danger from the pollution that's coming down over us. And we've been led astray by the military-industrial complex. And they're responsible for the cloud's creation and weather manipulation programs. They're dark operations. That's why they're not out in the media.
I look around and I see people are starting to look up and see that. Many times I've spoken about chemtrails, and I get this blank look on my face. What are you talking about? I'm saying, look up. As a pilot, before I fly, I look up. And so, boy, they're really out there working.
When you look up at the sun and you see a white haze, that is aluminum floating in the air right now. And
The
Yeah, so I mean, it's overwhelming in the fact that nothing, even with states putting legislation and outlawing it, nothing gets done. Nothing has really, really changed.
It's frustrating, because you can sit here and watch this and, yeah, they're speaking in front of a panel of people, but where does the information go? It seems like the information just goes into a black nothing box, a box of absolute nothing. Oh, thank you, JW. We appreciate that. 5 cups of coffee. That's very kind. Thank you. But back to listening to this information, I think it's great. It's wonderful. I'm glad people are saying things, but where does it go from there? It goes to this panel of people. We know it's wrong. They know it's wrong, yet it continues to happen. I mean, that's got to tell you that there's another entity in charge of everything, and it can't possibly be human, And also, before I forget, I want to remind everyone, make sure you're really good and balanced on your minerals, because if you're not, then your body is going to hold on to those other bad heavy metals, the lead, the aluminum, the mercury, things like that. So make sure your minerals are good and balanced. So important. And by doing these things, then your body releases all the heavy metals. It can just let them go much easier as long as your body has everything it needs.
Secretary Kennedy appoints new interagency autism coordinating committee to advance the fight against autism. Yeah, 21 new members to this agency. So they're on the Maha front. There's real change happening. Is it too little, too late? I mean, are we going to have bigger changes that are going to negate some of this? Like, for instance, we find ourselves in WW3, and if we're on the losing side, obviously, that would be a problem. But at the same time, you got to take hope that there really is change, and that at least some, because we do know, there are some people out there that are working for the government that are not happy with they're just like us. They're not happy with what they see. They want to see real, true change. Again, this is just part of the unfolding. Peter Thiel, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, Sam Altman invested in rare earth mining in Greenland with a plan to build a freedom city. Do you think it's just a coincidence again? We know the rare earth minerals thing, yeah. And at the same time, I wonder how much of that is just a front to, the rare earth minerals. I mean, if we really, and I do think we can literally pull the electricity right out of the ether if we wanted to. So it just feels to me like there's a lot of excuses that are given to us that are like, oh, well, duh, this is what they wanted. But I think it's a lot of planting things in people's minds. So, different levels of awakening will have straws to grasp at, if you know what I mean. Hopefully I'm getting that thought across.
No, I mean, it's just a nonsensical world that we live in, and having these other beings, I honestly, I don't, there's something far beyond even Congress that has a certain kind of control. There are entities that we are not even aware of. There are entities that we cannot even see. All of this makes absolutely no sense. We were watching something earlier, and it speaks about how many cancer-causing chemicals are in our laundry detergent. And why does there even have to be even one cancer-causing chemical in our laundry detergent? Why even one, if you know it does that? Yet it's still out there, and anyone with a card or anything can just go buy that. Why? It makes absolutely no sense unless there is some kind of agenda beyond the agenda that we don't get access to.
Well, when you think about the bigger picture and the fact that, as like Cindy was saying, you get to the level of being awake to where you realize that the ultimate control system, there's no way it's Homo sapiens sapiens. There's no way it's Homo sapiens sapiens. So then you got to wonder, is the system going to take a little bit more overt control over certain areas that the system may want for itself? Now, when we talk about these 15-minute cities, smart cities, these, all these things here that they're talking about, freedom cities, we think about, keeping people locked up in technology in a very, very small area to, make it easier to control them with frequencies, locking them in their buildings, maybe, locking them in public transportation from their home to wherever they have to go and then back up. I mean, you're never, freedom. Usually if they name something freedom, you might as well call it an internment in city. It's always the opposite of what they're saying. So I don't think there's any freedom in a freedom city. I'm thinking that's more like an internment camp, basically. But are they doing this too, setting up the stage for perhaps when some of the real controllers actually show themselves? Or will they show themselves?
I don't know if it's really going to happen in this lifetime. I do believe there's some entities that are not anywhere near human just among us right now. I think there's that situation that we have going on. We need to keep our minds open and our eyes open. And yes, thank you. Mentioning the borax is really good. It makes me sad that, there has to be so many other unhealthy alternatives out there. Why not just a couple healthy things that we can use to work with our clothes and use to clean? The system's definitely not set up for our favor.
Yeah, absolutely. All dental anesthetics now seem to have graphene oxide in them, tested by many independent labs, like by Dr. David Nixon's La Quinta Columna and others. So, yeah, it's everywhere. It's in the rain. It's all over. It's all, graphene oxide and nano, or nanu. So was Mork from Ork warning us back in the day, saying, watch out for that nanu?
He did a good job, didn't he?
Yeah, I wonder if, again, like a script writer, some Hollywood person in the know knew this, and that's why they chose to do, his welcoming words, nanu.
Well, back to borax for a minute. It is so very, very useful, and, you can put a little bit in your bathtub. I mean, borax is excellent for the nanu. Just use it carefully.
Karma Doc has an ozone washer, no detergent.
Nice. That is awesome.
Peter was asking about the committee of 300 people. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just going on up the food chain. But at the highest level, like when Cindy is literally remote viewed, these beings aren't human. They're not human at the highest level. They are not. They don't look like us. They're not us.
No, and they're not nice.
No, think Dark Lord or the Sith. It's really, which does look a little bit like Soros when you get down to it. So here you have the new mayor of New York City saying a fiscal crisis on the scale or beyond the scale of the Great Recession is upon us. So they're going to be looking for ways to save money and make things more efficient. Includes raising taxes on the wealthiest, that's what they say, and the most profitable corporations. But, it doesn't really matter whether it's left or right. It's the average people that usually are the ones that end up bearing the most of the brunt. And when you talk about waste, there was a guy that was demanding his money back from all the government fraud. He's just like, well, I just want my money back. When am I going to get my money back? Think about that. when are they going to, seriously abolish the IRS? Because, again, the IRS shouldn't exist. It was a takeover back in 1913. There was no IRS before 1913. What happened in 1914 after they set up the IRS? Then we had World War I, right? It's just, this is what they do. And, the Banking Act of 1871 set the stage for that. And then, of course, we had the Civil War, which, besides reducing the population, it also caused a lot of debt, which was a lot of profit for, again, the military-industrial complex.
I know, and I wonder if they're also going to do things like not give themselves a raise and not, do things that are very, very fair, and maybe even cut their own money's fundings.
They'll never do that. They will never do that. They'll never cut their pay. Laundry detergents banned for using cancer-causing ingredients. So check your soap, shampoo, bubble bath, baby soaps. Yeah, tons of them have toxic ingredients. Why is it that everything we come in contact with seems to have cancer-causing ingredients, seems to be toxic? Like everything. Again, your shampoos, your deodorants often can cause all sorts of problems, even tumors. Again, I wonder how many people have had lymph node problems that were caused by their deodorants.
It makes me so sad. I thought I was being such a good mom using Johnson & Johnson and keeping my baby's, skin all soft and, baths and everything. And, look at all of the chemicals in that stuff now. I mean, it's just not safe anywhere. And what I think is not fair, yes, there's a lot of alternatives out there, but you don't know what you don't know. And if you're just kind of growing up, coming into the world, and you're a new mom, and maybe you've just sort of been in the mainstream, like the first things you're going to reach for is what they have made popular. And that's just, to me, it's totally not fair. People should have the awareness. They should teach it in school. They should have the awareness of what is poisonous and what is not right away.
Yeah, when we had to go and stop in a hotel, we were both irritated from the detergents and stuff that they use. Because we don't use any of that. We tend to make everything from our toothpaste. Everything is natural as much as we can. We buy very little in the middle sections of the store. Very, very little. Here you go. Every single vitamin and mineral in raw milk comes with its own enzyme to ensure full absorption. Pasteurization doesn't just kill germs. It warps proteins. It triggers allergies and destroys the natural immune shield in real milk. I do believe in real milk. Now, my blood type is B, so I do really good with dairy. Dairy products agree with me. And everybody is unique when it comes to that. But when you look at everything that they've done, it's all kind of weakening our systems. It's always been about weakening our systems, or, again, things that can really help you. Often they're illegal. They're illegal, and it's kind of insane. So, yeah, raw milk is illegal in so many places. That's crazy. And here you have Francis Pottinger ran a decade-long experiment on cats, comparing raw milk to various forms of pasteurized milk. And in one, and comparing raw meat versus cooked meat in another. In the milk study, he found that cats fed pasteurized milk developed health problems, became lethargic, and successive generations became progressively worse until they could no longer reproduce. Cats fed raw milk stayed healthy and spry across generations.
How about that?
This is why they, do the pasteurization. Louis Pasteur was not a saint. Neither was Christopher Columbus. Neither was Charles Darwin. In fact, I think, if I'm right, they were all Masons when you get down to it. They shut off my water, and no matter what I do, I lose my farm. A California farmer says Newsom and the Democrats cut his water, killing his crops and his income. obey the water board, lose the farm, defy them, get sued, and lose it all anyway. It's no win situation. Thus, leave California. Or get Newsom out and get the Democrats out. Again, it's just what it is.
You got to do something. I mean, it's a mess. It's a mess.
Yeah, it's really sad. I mean, it's just so sad, this craziness. How about this? Ashitaba. Have you heard of Ashitaba? Anybody out there do you guys know Ashitaba? This is a plant that is very, very prolific in Japan, Okinawa. You won't really find it. I don't even think they're allowed to sell it here in the U.S. as a growing plant. I think you could get seeds. I've heard of people finding seeds. But it's amazing because it really helps with, the detoxing of the body and cell senescence. And it's just very, very useful. It's found to increase longevity. People that use this regularly, this is one of those blue zones, where the people that use this plant on a regular basis, many of them live to be well over 100.
I mean, our plants are so wonderful, and it's so ironic when you look at the Roundup. The poster child for Roundup was, those beautiful dandelions, and they do so much for our bodies. And they made that the poster child, and they made it ugly. I mean, personally, I want dandelion seeds because I want to see them all over my yard. I would just love to wake up to a bright, sunshiny field of dandelions. I really, really would. Plants are amazing.
Yeah, we have to demand these things to stop. We have to, work on this locally as much as possible. I know, feels like our good friend R. Wayne Steiger, I don't know, man. Maybe he's going to get his feet itching to get into the political situation to try to bring about some change locally. I mean, that's even hit me, and I just don't like the system at all. But, you start thinking about talking to people locally because there's so much that could be done. This is a perennial herb native to people in Japan, traditionally consumed as a health-promoting food and as an herbal medicine. Why don't we have this abundantly here in the U.S.? But because it's going to take money from Big Pharma. That's it. It's going to take money away from Big Pharma because people might get healthier and they might find that they could grow this easily and, and it doesn't taste bad. They say it's pretty similar to celery in flavor. So very edible, and it's really good for you. Very anti-inflammatory.
I know so many plants are anti-inflammatory, and we can utilize them in a lot of different ways. And it's just sad that really seems to be just gone from so many people's cupboards. They don't even think, they just as soon grab a ibuprofen or something, and not knowing the damage that can do over time when everything that we really need is in our backyard.
Yeah, absolutely. Dandelions, a lot of you guys are talking about that again. It's, they get us to spray it because it could help us. It could actually give us, good nutrition and health benefits. But instead, we spray it with one of the worst toxins that we know of. It's just crazy. New study says the Great Pyramid's far older than we thought. Again, they'll tell us that it's the Great Pyramid of Khufu was starting to be built around 2560 BC. Well, this new method they were using at trying to figure out the age points to a lot older age. Several measurements suggest erosion equivalent to 20,000 to more than 40,000 years of exposure. So, wow, that's a big difference from 2,400, 2,500 BC. You're talking, 4 to 8 times past that. Again, so much has been hidden because the history has to attempt to look analogous and reasonable, but when we look at it closely, it's just a story.
It is, the timing, everything is off. And, I've been talking to a lot of moms that homeschool lately. And I think it's just so wonderful that they get to homeschool their children, because they can tell their children, look, this is what the science book says this year, but keep in mind that could change next year. So, children don't hold so closely what they think to be the truth. You really have to remain flexible when you're out there learning in the mainstream. I think it's just helpful for kids to know, hey, this can change, and it probably will change in your lifetime. That way they don't really get bought and sold on any one thing, and they know this world is very flexible and movable.
Yeah, well, the info that we have gotten is that the big pyramids there on Giza were put in place in a golden age. So, yeah, they are very ancient, very, very ancient. There's a new discovery. They're calling it Baby Göbekli Tepe, unearthed from water, from the water underneath Ataturk Dam. As the water level was dropping, we were talking about Turkey, and we were talking about the sinkholes and the water problems that are growing. Well, some of these problems had led to them discovering more of our ancestors' contributions to history, and they're trying to reconstruct exactly what was going on here. Again, very different culture. When you're looking back pre-Younger Dryas period, these people lived in harmony with the earth. They understood that they were part of the earth, and so they had a respect for the earth and a respect for each other. And the civilizations that existed when we look back then, very, very different, night and day compared to what we are taught.
Way different.
And, this is just fascinating to see. I think there's going to be a lot of fascinating discoveries. How about this in Yemen? Yemen's another place, nonstop wars. I wonder why. Well, I don't know what to make of this. This is like a city for little elves. I mean, serious. What could possibly live in this? But then at the same time, there are these legends all around the world, and you guys in Appalachian know, of the little people. The little people like gnomes and elves. And I had many conversations in Waynesville and in Asheville with different people talking about this, and people that have had encounters with the little people. And then, of course, we had one of those little alien-type bodies that was uncovered in Peru that was, apparently real. What it was, who knows, but apparently something real and living. And interestingly enough, we've found all sorts of wild things in Peru, but this is Yemen. And Yemen is not a place that's a travel hotspot. And because of the nonstop civil war and conflicts going on, things like unearthing things like this and saying, who the heck built this? Why would they do this? Was this a children's play area? Or could there possibly be that small of beings? Because we had giants back in the day. Maybe there was just the opposite.
Well, you have to look at it. It does make you wonder if it's somebody's blueprint of something, just an old blueprint of what a much larger city would be. Maybe the much larger city is buried right there in those mountains, or maybe it is for little people. I know in the little dusty town that I come from, in the desert, there's that bottle house, and they made a bunch of little miniature bottle houses all around it, which was really, really cool. Maybe somebody had a hobby. Maybe somebody just wanted to build it. A little Smurf village. It's so cute.
Al Snafor, Smurf village. This is really pretty wild. And then we have this. This is a depiction of Saint Modulaldus of Trier during the construction of a church, under his guidance. Excuse me, sir. We need you to put a light bulb in somewhere. I mean, how tall is he? If this is a 5.5, 6 foot tall man, this would be like a 15-foot tall bishop? Pope? Something? Yeah, and then you wonder about the pointy hats, the fish hats, again, emulating Dagon and the wands.
Is that thing behind his hat? Does that like mean he's enlightened?
It looks like he has a glowing
Yeah.
halo.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Very interesting.
It's a woodcut. Look at that. So, I mean, I think right here they're trying to tell us, again, the reason why you see all these big doorways, because there were big people. Pretty simple.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, absolutely. This is just fascinating. Yeah, as they say. That's why doors exist like this. Look at these doors. I mean, 30 feet. And, why? It's just for grandeur? How much do those things weigh? How do you even move them? And the bigger question is, too, some of these have latches that are like 20 feet off the ground. Who's going to be able to reach the latch? I tell you, it's really, really fascinating. There you go. There's one. Look at that. Look at that latch. How does this logically make sense? Who is going to, hello?
I know it's so goofy. It's so silly. When it comes to these doors, why? I mean, you just have to sit there and ask, even if it's for decoration, why?
The dam was in Turkey, by the way, and the other one that was failing was down in Madagascar. So yeah, it's just fascinating. It's really fascinating. It's fun. Here, again, this is an actual very, very famous depiction of Gilgamesh, right? The Nephilim giants were much taller and stronger. Yeah, 15 feet tall, probably. This is why they could hold a lion, and you can see that lion, I think that's Jimmy Corsetti. It appears to be the size of Jimmy, These were big beings. These were big beings. And they interacted with us on a regular basis. Now, this might even be more mind-blowing for probably most people. Here you have, this is Robert Monroe, the very famous Robert Monroe, the Monroe Institute founder, reveals his oversoul split itself into two human bodies at the same time. One in the USA, one in the USSR. Both on the same mission. He tracked down his soul sister behind the Iron Curtain, and then suddenly both U.S. and Soviet intelligence showed up at his door. Monroe, my oversoul, put itself into two human bodies simultaneously. She was the backup. This is the man who pioneered out-of-body experiences, created HemiSync, binaural beats, and founded the Monroe Institute, helping millions expand consciousness and explore non-physical realms through the Gateway experience. He taught us that I am more than my physical body. Because I am more than physical matter, I can perceive that which is greater than the physical world. And, that's basic Hinduism, again, out of which, Buddhism sprung, Jainism, and others. The greatest illusion is that mankind has limitations. What if your soul is playing on a far bigger scale than this one life? Oh, absolutely. Watch this and drop your wildest consciousness OBE experiences below. Yeah, absolutely. Again, the oversoul can have multiple incarnations on. I feel that I've gotten a glimpse of one of my other ones, which is taking place somewhere in Southeast Asia. And in that incarnation, I'm about half the age I am now. I'm about 30 there. I actually saw myself in the mirror in that incarnation. It's somewhere like Malaysia or Singapore. It's not one of the bigger countries. It's one of the smaller ones. And, male as well. But, yeah, it was just pretty wild, because it's a wild thing to perceive oneself and then look in the mirror and it's not you. It's not the body, at least, that you inhabit.
even looking at your own soul stream and the people that you resonate with and you vibe with, and that you understand them and they understand you, coming from that same soul stream, it is a lot of fun to think about. It's like, why do you conglomerate with certain people? Why do you understand or want to be pulled towards certain people? Why do you feel repelled by certain people? Maybe you don't know them or you don't know much about them, but there's just something about them that really kind of gets on your nerves. And then why other people, you don't know them, you don't know much about them, but you feel very pulled to them, like this magnetic energy. So energy is just very, very fascinating to be studied. And I think it's good that we ask questions.
Yes, absolutely. So we could have more than one incarnation at a time. Again, it's not so hard to think about ourselves playing a video game and having two avatars in the game, right? Or even playing two completely different games. So I think that's kind of like an as above, so below analogy we could use.
I like it. Mm-hmm.
It feels like it works. So when that happened, it was like I was waking up from sleep and got out of bed and walked into the bathroom, and I could see the toilet there, and then I looked up in the mirror and I was about a 30-year-old young Asian man. It wasn't me, and then that caused me to wake up in my body. So these are like the type of things that I've kept track of throughout the years, going back to about 15, 16 with dream journals, and then also in different meditations and like my own type of consciousness experiments that I've done all throughout my life.
I think some of my favorite dreams are the dreams when I get to see loved ones who have passed, and you kind of get to hang out with them and you get to do things with them again, and you're just kind of on this plane of existence and you're living life together again. But sometimes it's very, very much like I'm here with this person, they're my friend, and you don't recognize that you're in a dream, or you don't recognize that they have been gone for a long time. You're just hanging out together. Like all of a sudden you're just hanging out together, and that's really cool. But then you have the other dreams where a loved one comes and you get to see them and that they've been gone. So you're so overjoyed. You just jump with glee and you're happy and you get to see them. And that is so very, very exciting. And then you have the dreams of those that maybe you didn't know that they passed, and they come to you in a dream, and then later you find out that they have passed. So I've had all of those dreams. I think the dream world is quite fascinating, personally.
Yeah, it's interesting too. So, I mean, what happens if you get in contact with another co-incarnation at the same time, actually make physical contact or anything? I mean, I wonder if that would feel bizarre or weird, or...
I think we do all the time, honestly, and we just don't know it.
That's fascinating. So is this. Look at this. This is a giant anteater having some fun with his friends. How adorable. How adorable. Yeah, consciousness. That's what we are. This is a temporary human experience. And so, ultimately, there's really nothing to be fearful of. Again, fear, that's food for certain entities. Yeah, at the same time, if you could simply know that, there's a truck coming around the corner, it's best that I get out of the middle of the road, jump on the sidewalk for this stretch of the road, then maybe you could go back into the road later when things calm down. It's always good to be prepared, and it's always good to have a positive outlook and know, ultimately we are consciousness, and consciousness can't really ever be destroyed. It's just going to change forms, and we change vehicles. Again, that's just basic Hinduism. There's a lot of truth in the Sanatana Dharma, a lot of wisdom too, about the very nature of consciousness. And in the Yoga Sutras, that would be a good recommendation, is grab a book of the Yoga Sutras and just get ready to read a line and let it sit in your mind and ponder it for a week. It's a very, very deep read.
Indeed. Are we about ready for a ding? Okay. It's ding time. I want to say a huge thank you to Frankie, Renee, Elena, and JW for tonight to help keep us going and to sponsor the video for tonight. We really appreciate it, you guys. It helps us bring everyone together. A little update on prayers for Lori and Steve. If you've been following a little while, Lori, I saw a video of her and she was moving her head and she was making noise, so she's coming a long ways. And Steve, her husband, he's hanging in there. He is coping. So thank you so much for those prayers, and for Diana and Fernando and anyone else who needs prayers or some type of energy tonight. Just put your heart out there, open your heart up, and we're going to do some dings. Please find a happy thought in your mind. That is so important when we run this little bit of energy at night at the end of this. And remember, our intention is for those who are in the storms, that they have what they need and they're safe and they're provided for. And even if they are in a bad situation, that they find help. So think a happy thought, and don't forget, please drink plenty of water after we do this too. Water is very important. It's a very important messenger. So here we go. Thank you so much to all of our mods and everyone for showing up and for the thumbs up and the likes and everything. We so appreciate it. Source bless and namaste.
Loka samasta sukhi no bhavantu. May all beings everywhere be happy, blessed, and free. And may my own thoughts, actions, words, and deeds contribute to their freedom and happiness. Thank you guys so much. There's nothing better than seeing you all there with us. Source bless. Namaste.